Alright guys, welcome back. We got another Bible study video. I think this is like the second one this week, but I got Aiden again. Currently in Virginia for a Christmas trip. So we're out here just kind of hanging out. Sun's about to set, but I read this morning in Leviticus. It talks a lot about sacrifice and your offerings to the Lord. It also related it to real life, which was really, really cool. So we're going to be in Leviticus 11, verse 41 is kind of where I want to start, I think. Or we could start around 43, but it's some really good stuff, and it's super simple. Low-key, if you like read through it, it can be kind of, complicated, but I'll just kind of start. At 41, it says, every swarming thing that swarms on the ground is detestable. It shall not be eaten. If you go down to 43, it says, you shall not make yourselves detestable with any swarming thing that swarms. You shall not defile yourselves with them and become unclean through them. And then 44, this is kind of the big kicker here. It says, for I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves therefore and be holy, for I am holy. You shall not defile yourselves with any swarming things that crawls on the ground, for I am the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. Just kind of stop there, because I was just reading and thinking about a lot of things recently, and I talked to a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people that are dealing with various things, and a lot of the things that they're dealing with can be avoided. You know what I'm saying? Some things you can't avoid. You can't avoid accidents and losses, and some things that happen kind of in your family or that kind of happen on regular life. But there are certain situations that can absolutely be avoided, and sometimes it's just because of lack of maturity and immaturity, kind of doing things that we shouldn't do. So I wrote a couple notes, and I'll kind of let Aiden add some stuff too. But it was super simple. Your God is holy. There should be a difference in your life than others. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes, and if you really think about it, and if you talk to non-believers or people, that you may know that don't go to church or don't do anything, a lot of times they don't believe because they don't believe there's a difference between being saved and not being saved. And it's not because they don't believe there's a God, or they don't, they just can't believe it's possible that, someone would create the heavens and the earth. It's not that. It's literally just the idea that they look at you and they look at the people around them and they don't see any difference. You know what I'm saying? So that's what steers them away, because it's why should I commit my life to something that you don't even do yourself? So if you don't believe me, you should try it. You should ask people why they don't go to church. You should ask them why they haven't gave their life to Christ, and I guarantee probably 70% of them or 80% of them will say, because I don't see the point. You know what I'm saying? So if they don't see the point, that means they can see your life and they don't see a difference, which means you got some work to do. Yeah. Because it should be a difference.
I feel like that's a big thing though, being able to look at somebody and tell a difference. You should be able to you should be able to differentiate between Christians and non-Christians. There should be a big difference.
Another thing that I wrote, and I thought it was super cool, I just said, if you're fitting in, there's a problem. If you can go to parties and you can go to certain functions or events or be around certain groups of people and you're not disrupted, or you don't feel convicted of any kind, you know what I'm saying? You don't feel anything wrong with you being in that certain space, there's a problem, because it means your connection with the Lord is very vague. And it's not deep enough to where you feel that there's a problem, because in the Bible it talks about sin, so it talks about things you should do and not do. But if you don't ever feel, I shouldn't be here, or I shouldn't say this, or I shouldn't try this, and you just fit in with every type of group that's not what you want. You know what I'm saying?
And most of the time, it doesn't mean you just don't have you're not rooted, not really rooted in your word enough. You don't have the relationship with Jesus enough. Because I feel once you get to a point where you're consistent reading your word and you're talking and you're praying a lot, I feel then once you feel that, and then you feel conviction, you have
that stuff will
you have a stable ground.
Yeah. The last thing I just wanted to leave you guys with a question was, how can you live your life clean versus unclean? And whatever that looks like for you, whether it's maybe you're a person that likes to go out a ton, maybe you're not. Maybe you're a person that struggles with lust a ton, and maybe you have girls in and out, you know what I'm saying, or guys, or whatever it might be. Maybe that's your thing, or maybe you smoke or drink, whatever it might be. But there should be a difference, and I think that sometimes it becomes too familiar to everybody, so you go to church but you party the night before, so it's fine, you've been doing it the last 4 years, but if you don't feel any conviction about what you're doing, your connection with the Lord isn't as deep as you thought. And when you try to bring people to Christ, it's going to be very, very difficult, because I'm telling you, they're going to look and they're going to say, well, I see what you're doing and I see what I'm doing, so what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? And it's it should be a distinct difference. And
I feel with that, bearing good fruit is very important. I feel that's you gotta have good fruit and bear good fruit and show that.
That's a good point, because the Bible says they'll know by your fruit. So you won't even have to tell people that you read if you just don't want to go. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to tell people, well, the Bible says this, X, Y. Sometimes we try to over explain, but people are going to know based off how you act. You know what I'm saying?
Go about things.
This is Leviticus 11. The entire chapter kind of talks about offerings and sacrifice, but I like how it relates it right here in regards to
41 to like 45 is really good.
Yeah, so I like
a lot
the
of
way
time there.
It relates to real life, just some perspective and thoughts for you to kind of keep in mind as you go throughout the holidays and the weeks, and even when you guys get back on campus, whenever that is, if that's the season you're in. But be safe out there.
See you guys.